तो अब हम अपना मेन से क्वेश्चंस करेंगे जो हमारे क्वेश्चन बच गए थे। The Himalayas are highly prone to landslides. Discuss the causes and suggest suitable measures of mitigation. मतलब इसको सही करने के लिए हमें suitable measures देने और इसके causes बताने किस किस कारण से होता है। हिमालय जो है fold mountain है formed due to orogeny। orogeny caused by convergence of Eurasian plate and Austro-Indian plate. These fold mountains, being relatively young, are still very geodynamic. Geodynamic में मतलब अर्थ की जो मूवमेंट है उसके हिसाब से चेंज होता रहता है, ठीक है। दिस इज इंस्टेबिलिटी This instability throughout the year makes it prone to landslide, which are large-scale hazardous movement of rock and debris down the slope of mountains. ठीक है, अब इसके causes क्या क्या हैं? Causes of landslide in Himalayas. The causes of landslide in Himalaya are broadly classified into two categories, which are as follows: natural causes, geographical location of Himalaya at confluence of Eurasian and Indian plate make it geological very active, and this cause regular earthquakes, which at time trigger massive landslide. Himalayan region in general receives very heavy rainfall, in which leads to erosion and surface runoff, which are potent causes of landslide. Potent causes है किसके? Landslides के. The steep slopes of Himalayan mountain are very conductive for massive debris flow and cause catastrophic landslide. Anthropogenic causes: indiscriminate cutting down of trees causes topsoil to loosen and cause landslide. Blasting of mining works and also constructing road in hilly regions cause sudden vibration triggering a landslide. Same can be said about using heavy earth movers and vibrating machine for construction work. Especially slash and burn agriculture leads to collapse of topsoil under gravity. तो ये हो गए भाई इसके reasons. ठीक है। तो अब इसके देखेंगे हम कॉजेज क्या क्या है। Afforestation control and scientific farming method would increase the topsoil cover. The vulnerability mapping would provide an advanced preparedness for such hazards. Limiting such activities and avoiding using equipments or technology that increases the stress. Spreading awareness about causes, providing local maps for vulnerable areas, and training these steps for evacuation at both individual and community level through specific camps and campaigns would minimize the loss. Avoiding the obstruction of natural path of stream while construction. Avoiding the obstruction of natural path of stream while construction. Use of boundary walls while making roads on slope. Use of boundary walls while making road on slope. Mock drills toward evacuation during landslide is highly vulnerable in highly vulnerable areas to minimize loss of life. An integrated and dedicated, proactive and multi-pronged approach. Proactive, multi-pronged approach toward improving advanced preparedness to community, state and central participation under the aegis of NDRF can go a long way in reducing the effect of landslide in Himalayan region. ठीक है, तो ये हमारा क्वेश्चन हो गया। अब हम क्या करेंगे, उसके बाद दोबारा से रिवीजन करेंगे। इसके बाद में अब हम अपना ज्योग्राफी का हम अपना चैप्टर पढ़ेंगे, वो दोबारा से इसको पढ़ेंगे। अनवी, इधर आ। आ जाएगी। ये फोन कर दो, जो गई वो कर दो। ये बस चार्ज दे तनी, जो गई वो अभी थोड़ी देर में जा रहे 5 तनी 1% बैटरी है, 5 मिनट अभी नहीं जा रहे। तो पढ़ते हैं इसको हम। देख, ट्रोपोस्फेयर जो है वो लोएस्ट लेयर है एटमॉस्फेयर की। एवरेज हाइट है 13 किलोमीटर। हाइट रेंज अप्रोक्सीमेटली 8 किलोमीटर होती है पोल्स पे, 18 किलोमीटर होती है इक्वेटर पे। द थिकनेस पार्ट ऑफ ट्रोपोस्फेयर इक्वेटर due to strong convection current transporting heat to greater height. ठीक है, why the distance of sphere is 18 kilometer over the equator. ठीक है, तो मैक्सिमम इंसोलेशन होती है इसकी वजह से। इट कंटेन 75% ऑफ टोटल गैसियस मास of atmosphere and include dust particle and water vapor. Temperature decreases in the troposphere at the rate of 1 degree for every 165 meter, or approximately 6.5 degree per kilometer. This temperature decreases occur because air density decreases with height. Air density जो होती है वो डिक्रीज करती है किसके साथ, हाइट के साथ, अलाउिंग, क्या अलाउ करती है वो, अलाउिंग राइजिंग एयर टू एक्सपैंड एंड कूल. The lowest temperature in troposphere is found over the equator, not at poles. The air temperature at the top of troposphere is about -80 over the equator and -45 over the poles. Explain how the lowest temperature in troposphere is found over the equator. Briefly. ठीक है, तो अब इसका देखें क्यों है. Near the equator, intense solar heating causes strong convection which lift the troposphere to much higher altitude. In the troposphere, temperature generally decreases with height. So yeah. The troposphere comes from a Greek word tropos, meaning mixing, indicating turbulence and eddies in this layer. It is also known as convective region. Convective region, as all convectional ceases at its upper limit. Convention क्या होता है ये? Convection. All changes in climate and weather, including cloud formation, thunderstorm, occur in this troposphere. Wind velocity increases with height and reaches maximum at top. At top of troposphere lies a shallow layer separating from next thermal layer known as tropopause. The tropopause reaches its greater height near the equator and varies in season in middle and high latitude. For instance, in latitude of 45° north and south, the average height of tropopause in January is about 12.5 km, increasing to 15 km in July. ठीक है, अब हम पढ़ते हैं स्ट्रेटोस्फेयर के बारे में. स्ट्रेटोस्फेयर इज लोकेटेड अबव द ट्रोपोपॉज एंड एक्सटेंड टू अ हाइट ऑफ 50 किलोमीटर. Stratosphere is 50 kilometer from ground or from 18 kilometer of Troposphere. ठीक है, तो इसमें जो लोअर स्ट्रेटोस्फेयर है वो exhibit an isothermal character with a temperature region present up to about 20 km, after which temperatures start rising. During summer, the stratospheric temperature increases with latitude extended up to the poles. However, in winters, the warmest part of stratosphere is between 50 to 60 degree, after which temperature decreases again. Stratosphere is thickest at the poles and remain free of clouds and weather changes. So it is an ideal region for flying aircraft. Why the stratosphere is thickest at the poles? Okay, why? Tell me. Okay. ठीक है, तो इसमें वो हो जाता है around 50 kilometer. The temperature began to decline, marking the end of stratosphere known as stratopause. The part of stratosphere with the highest concentration of ozone is known as ozonosphere. The temperature rise with height in stratosphere is due to absorption of ultraviolet radiation by ozone gas. ठीक है, अब आता है हमारा मेसोस्फेयर. मेसोस्फेयर is situated above the troposphere. Tropopause extended from 50 km to a height of 80 km. In this layer, temperature once again start decreasing with altitude, reaching as much as minus 100 degrees Celsius at 80 km, making it the coldest layer in the atmosphere. The exact boundaries of mesosphere vary with latitude and season, but typically the lower boundary is around 50 km above the Earth's surface, and mesopause is near 100 km. During summer, the mesosphere descends to around 85 km in middle and high latitude. The upper limit of mesosphere is called as mesopause. Mm, about the thermosphere. What is now thermosphere? The thermosphere. Thermosphere extends from 80 to 400 km above the mesopause. In this layer, temperature increases rapidly with height, reaching an estimate 1500 degrees Celsius. Ionosphere. Ionosphere. The Earth's thermosphere include the ionosphere region containing electrically charged particles called ions. Ionization of molecules and atoms in the ionosphere occur primarily due to ultraviolet, X-rays, and gamma radiation, as well as high temperature in the thermosphere. The ionosphere and thermosphere can overlap because of these factors. Radio waves transmitting from Earth are reflected back by ionosphere, and this layer also protect the Earth from meteoroids and debris from abandoned satellites which burn up due to high temperature upon entry. The ionosphere include part of mesosphere and exosphere as well. It divide into several layers: D layer, E layer, sporadic E layer, F1 and F2 layer, G layer. Layers such as D layer and E layer exist only during the daytime and disappear as sunset. King. ठीक है बात है on the basis of chemical composition. Homosphere, it represents the lower portion of atmosphere and extend up to a height of 90 km from the sea level. The main constituent gases are oxygen, nitrogen, and other gases like argon, carbon dioxide, neon, helium, krypton, xenon, hydrogen. This zone is called the homosphere because the portion of different gases are uniform at different level. Tropopause. Tropo, tro- Tropopause marks the altitude in the Earth atmosphere below which turbulent mixes dominates. The region below the tropopause is known as homosphere and above heterosphere. Heterosphere is extends to a height of 90 km to 10,000 km. Different layer of this sphere vary in chemical properties, chemical and physical properties. In this layer, atmospheric gases are no longer evenly mixed but begin to separate out in distinct sublayers of concentration. Yeah, atmospheric gases are no longer evenly mixed but begin to separate out in distinct sublayers of concentration. And this separation of gases is caused by Earth's gravity, in which heavier gases are pulled toward the surface and lighter gases drift farther outward. इसका इसमें पड़ेगा एनसीईआरटी में भी देख ले एक बार इसको कला डल की छोड़ ये 64 64 64 64 64 64 Mickey. Can a person live without some organisms like human may survive from time to time without food or water, but we cannot survive even a few minutes without breathing air. That shows the reason we should understand the atmosphere in greater detail. Atmosphere is a mixture of these seven gases, and it envelops the earth. All around it contains life-giving gases like oxygen for humans, animals, and carbon dioxide for plants. The air is an integral part of Earth's mass, and 99% of total mass of atmosphere is confined to a height of 32 km from the Earth's surface. The air is colorless and odorless and can be felt only when it blows as a wind. Composition of the atmosphere. Atmosphere is composed of gases, water vapor, and dust particles. The proportion of gases changes in higher layers of the atmosphere in such way that oxygen will be almost is negligible quantity at height of 120 km. Similarly, carbon dioxide and water vapor are found up to 90 km from the surface of Earth. Yeah, carbon dioxide meteorologically a very important gas as it is transparent to the incoming solar radiation but opaque to outgoing terrestrial radiation. It absorbs a part of terrestrial radiation and reflects back some part of it toward the Earth's surface. It is largely responsible for greenhouse effect. The volume of other gases is constant, but the volume of carbon dioxide has been rising in the past few decades, mainly because of burning of fossil fuels. This has also increased the temperature of air. Ozone is another important component of atmosphere found between 10 to 50 kilometers above the Earth's surface and act as a filter and absorb the ultraviolet rays radiating from the sun and prevents them from reaching the Earth's surface of the Earth. Water vapor. Water vapor is variable gas. ठीक है, वेरिएबल गैस है मतलब इसकी अमाउंट जो है वो जगह के साथ बदलती रहती है. In atmosphere which decreases with altitude के साथ ये घटेगी. In the warm and wet tropic it may account for 4% of the air by volume, while in dry and cold areas of desert and polar region it may less than 1% of air. Water vapor also decreases from equator toward poles. It also absorbs parts of insolation from the sun and preserve the earth radiated heat. It does act like a blanket, allowing the earth neither to become too cold or not too hot. Water vapor also contributes to stability and instability in the air. Dust particles. Atmosphere has sufficient capacity to keep small solid particles which may originate from different sources, including sea salts, fine smoke soot, ash, pollen, dust, and disintegrated particles of meteor. Dust particles are generally concentrated in lower layers of atmosphere, yet conventional air currents may transport them to greater height. The higher concentration of dust particles is found in subtropical and temperate regions due to dry winds in comparison to equatorial and polar regions. Dust and salt particles act as hygroscopic nuclei around which water vapor condenses to produce clouds.